These German words have no English translation. So what do they mean?
Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. I am Donnie.
And I'm Aubrey.
And we are two Americans currently living in Germany and sharing all of our experiences living and traveling throughout Europe. As you all know, Aubrey and I have been learning German while we have been living in Germany for the past 2 years, and we have shared in many videos the struggles we endure to learn this schwere Sprache. Well, one of those struggles is from time to time, we see a German word we don't recognize, look it up, and come to find out, there is no way of translating that word because an English word literally does not exist that means the same thing. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about today in our video. Overheard a German word that in English is unheard of.
One of our favorite times of year in Germany is the Christmas season, when you can stand around a fire pit, listening to Christmas carols, laughing with friends, and sipping on a warm drink. Well, there also is one of our favorite untranslatable words that can describe this moment and atmosphere, and that is Gemütlichkeit. Put this word in a translator and you probably will get a result of something like coziness. However, that really doesn't explain what this word is supposed to fully represent. The Wikipedia entry on Gemütlichkeit describes, cozy captures an element of it, but crucially lacks those of friendliness and belonging.
To be honest, this is a word that I don't think we can truly fully understand the emotional feeling behind what Gemütlichkeit means. I mean, I understand what coziness feels like, and the description of the Christmas market feels like what I think it should mean, but it's those little extra pieces beyond just coziness that I can't quite wrap my head around exactly what the word is trying to convey. Whenever I was looking into trying to figure out what this word truly represents, I kept seeing examples that actually quintessential Gemütlichkeit would be found at a beer garden on a nice summer evening. The most famous Oktoberfest song sung about every 20 minutes at Oktoberfest, called Ein Prosit, says Ein Prosit der Gemütlichkeit. Sorry for killing it by just saying it, but I'm not going to sing it. Oktoberfestsongs.com tries to help explain the definition of Gemütlichkeit and why it is sung at Oktoberfest like this. English translation is coziness or good cheer, but Gemütlichkeit goes a step further and encapsulates a feeling of belonging, social acceptance, and leaving your troubles at the door. So help all of us better understand the emotion behind this word by writing in the comments what type of scene or moment best describes Gemütlichkeit to you. Before we get to our next word, we make videos based on what it seems like you guys like the most. So hit that like and subscribe buttons to let us know that you are enjoying them.
I think we all can relate to the English word homesick, which of course describes a feeling of being away from home for a long period of time and wanting to go back. German also has this word which directly translates to Heimweh, with Heim meaning home and Weh meaning hurt. However, German is very interesting in that it also has another word that English doesn't have, Fernweh. Fernweh is the opposite of homesickness, as it is the longing and hurt to travel or see faraway places. It actually is funny because since English doesn't have a translation for this word, when you put Fernweh into a translator, you will likely get Wanderlust. But Wanderlust is a German word that English borrowed because of our lack of a word for this feeling. However, in German, Wanderlust and Fernweh are actually two different things.
A BBC article explains Fernweh actually grew out of Wanderlust, a popular word in the 19th century German Romantic movement which valued a love of nature that stemmed from a sudden Teutonic interest in exploring Central Europe's forests and untrammeled landscapes. To put it in a way that we think we have come to understand, Wanderlust would be the feeling you could have had in summer of 2019 when you were looking at your holidays and thinking about traveling to a different country. You had a desire to travel, and maybe it had been a little while, so you were eager to do so. Fernweh, on the other hand, would be more like it's 2021. You had a trip planned for the spring of 2020, but it was canceled, you were put into lockdown, and now you have a very strong physical ache or pain because you really want to get out and travel, but you just can't. So to translate Fernweh as Wanderlust or Wanderlust just doesn't convey the emotional difference that exists in the German language between these two words. But I guess it is the best that English has figured out to do without a word of its own to express this feeling.
Sometimes untranslatable German words aren't untranslatable because of cultural differences and the lack of language development around an emotion or activity that another culture can't relate to. Sometimes these words are very relatable between two cultures, but German just has a much more concise way of describing a situation by a single word, unlike in English where we use an entire sentence to describe a situation. This is exactly the case with another one of my favorite untranslatable German words, verschlimmbessern. Verschlimm comes from the German word verschlimmern, meaning to make worse, and verbessern, meaning to make better. So how can a word make sense if it literally means to make worse, to make better? Well, although English doesn't have a direct one-word translation, that obviously does not mean that we are not immune to this experience, and we would just say, you were trying to make it better, but you actually just made it worse.
Yet simply having one word for verschlimmbessern is much more concise. The German embassy in Washington has a blog, and in it they describe an example of verschlimmbessern as, for example, a company may have updated their iPhone app to add more features, but the update may have made it more confusing for users to navigate. This would be an example of verschlimmbessern, since the update actually made the product worse.
Honestly, the next word is one that I hope is the last time we will ever mention it in a video because it seems to be working its way into way too many of our videos recently, and that is Sitzpinkler. As we have discussed in other videos, in Germany, unlike in the US, it is common practice for men to sit when they urinate, and therefore the term assigned to a man who sits while he pees is a Sitzpinkler. I'm sure this explanation is unnecessary, but Sitz comes from the word sitzen, meaning to sit, and Pinkler comes from pinkeln, meaning to urinate.
This literally isn't even something I had ever heard of men doing until I came to Germany, and therefore we have no translation of this word since the expectation for the most part is that you, as a man, just stand when you urinate. However, an interesting note is that in Germany, even with the culture of men sitting while urinating, there is another meaning of the word Sitzpinkler. According to the BBC, but those who choose to sit are often referred to as a Sitzpinkler, implying it is not masculine behavior. We have heard that you can also call someone a Sitzpinkler to describe them not as someone who sits to urinate, but as what we would call in English a wimp or a wuss. I haven't actually heard that use ourselves, so can you guys let us know if you have heard that being used as a slander as well in the comments?
One of every German's favorite words in the German language, and would be one of every English-speaking person's favorite words as well if we just had a translation, I'm talking Feierabend. As you know by now, most of these untranslatable words are actually compound words of multiple German words stuck together to give us something unique. So if we look at the parts of the word, are you able to figure out what this one word might mean? The first part of the word comes from die Feier, which could mean the celebration, and der Abend, meaning the evening. So together we have something like the celebration evening or the evening of celebration.
And I doubt that that actually gets across what Feierabend literally means, and this word does have multiple uses or meanings, but the most common will be heard at the end of the workday, and Duden.de defines it as free time following the working day. This word has many different uses, and depending on the use, would be translated differently in English, but we really don't have a translation for this word. One of the best ways of trying to translate it would often just be the end of the workday. But there are other uses, like it would just mean have a good evening if you said schöne Feierabend as you left the office. Or you could use it just to call the end of something. To be completely honest, this is a word that I think the emotion kind of eludes us, and I'm sure some of you can better explain the feeling of what Feierabend means better, so help us out in the comments below.
So as you can see, as we struggle to try and translate untranslatable words, we are struggling to wrap our minds around what some of these words even mean and how culture has seemed to dictate that some languages have words that others do not have. There are actually a ton more of these words still out there, and these were just a few that we like, but go ahead and leave your favorite untranslatable words in the comments below and what they mean, if you can find a way to describe it.
To see who made it this far into the video, the random question of the week is bacon or sausage? Which one do you prefer for breakfast? Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. Please be sure to hit that like and subscribe buttons, and we will see you in our next video.
Tschüss! Fernweh. Oh, Fernweh. Fernweh. Fernweh is the opposite. And that is Sitz. Or
you could use it just call. What?